see that how we are going to proceed with the training of Palo Alto. So this is a demonstration class basically where we are going to discuss about the basic, training strategy and how the course will be divided by Palo Alto and how we are going to take this forward from here. So in order to demonstrate that, first of all, a few prerequisites over here, I want to make clear that the audience who are going to join this demonstration, in order to have a better understanding, they need to have the prerequisite knowledge of network, switching, routing, and all those stuff. Then only you can benefit from this firewall class. So in this entire firewall class, what we are going to discuss, it will be divided into 3 basic portions, and same goes with Palo Alto official training module as well, what I'm going to discuss over here. So let me share my screen. Before that, I want anyone have any question for me, they can ask now so that I can start the demonstration. Guys, you can ask any question to me. Any query?
Yeah, Praveen.
Queries,
So
any
you
doubt?
are saying, yeah, Praveen, Ravi here. So
Yeah,
you are
Ravi.
saying that Palo Alto cyber security, like Palo Alto security policies you will teach in this module, or cyber security means any advanced like cyber security, especially because securities and cyber security different in some organizations. So will you cover cyber security concepts or only security profile concepts?
See, Ravi, nice question, Ravi. Thank you for asking. So the thing is, cybersecurity has a very, very wide spectrum. Cybersecurity is a very, very wide spectrum. Over here, what we are going to cover is basically related to your Palo Alto next generation firewall and its management. Apart from that, if you ask me, that Palo Alto firewall, next generation firewall, is a full-blown cybersecurity product. But if you ask me, that Palo Alto cybersecurity spectrum, it's quite wide. In Palo Alto cybersecurity spectrum, the complete Cortex, SOAR, and all those comes align into it, which is a quite advanced module, and that will not be covered into our class. So what we are over here, it's like focusing, which is your next generation firewall, its troubleshooting module, and management. 3 portions we are going to cover over here. If you want to check, anyone over here want to check, they can go ahead and Palo Alto sites, they can check for 3 module related to firewall, which is EDU 210, EDU 220, and EDU 330. This is what we are going to cover. So EDU 210 is basically your next generation firewall essentials, where we are going to see the entire feature what firewall can provide for you, like how we are going to protect the application, how we are going to create side to side VPN, how we are going, what is global protector, and all those things. Don't worry about the terminologies what I'm going to take over here. Over the course of the our training, you will get to know what are these. But the thing is, the entire next generation firewall from Palo Alto side is been divided into three training modules, which is EDU 210. Let me share my screen. So this is your Palo Alto training site. Over here, I have searched for firewall essentials EDU 210. So if I search for over here next generation firewall, your Palo Alto network certified network security engineer. So basically, this is a certification which been covered in these two training modules, 210 and 330. Okay, this Palo Alto Network Certified Network Security Engineer, it's been covered into these two modules, 210 and 330. 210 is, I have opened it over here. So 210 is basically is your firewall essential, where it's been mentioned that you are going through the configuration and management, where you come to know about how we are going to configure, manage the essential feature of Palo Alto Next Generation Firewall, how you are going to perform the security and the NAT policy to enable the traffic from one zone to another zone, and how you are going to manage threat prevention, or from any unknown IP addresses, domains, URLs and all. And then you'll see the monitor and the reporting part through a interactive web interface. Okay, and this is the complete objective over here. The prerequisite is also mentioned that the participant must have familiarity with the networking concepts. Like I said, you must have the knowledge of routing, switching. Students also should be familiar with the basic security concepts related to your IPS proxy. Don't worry about it. If you don't have this much knowledge, no issues, I will cover that part. But yes, if someone has, it's a plus for that person. Okay, this is what mentioned over here also, that is a plus. If you don't have, don't worry about it. I will get to know that what is IPS, what is proxy, and what is content filtering. Then if you go to the course module over here, in the course module it's clearly mentioned that what we are going to discuss over here, we are going to discuss the Palo Alto network portfolio architecture. If we say like network portfolio architecture, then what this network portfolio architecture? In order to understand more about it, we can open this document portfolio. This is a official document from Palo Alto Networks portfolio. That means what are the product line and how they are going to, so over here we are going to discuss everything, not only just the next generation firewall. That the next generation firewall is available in which flavors, like PA series. When we say PA series, this is the strata line. Strata line is their product line. Strata line is their product line. In this strata line, what are the things cover are mainly related to your next generation firewall. Strata line is your next generation firewall. Now in this next generation firewall is basically divided into three flavors, which is your physical series, VM series, and container series. Are basically container series are basically used for micro segmentation over. These are basically again in the cloud network or in a hybrid network, the VM series Palo Alto firewall you can use. So in our entire training, physical will not be available. The labs and all what you are going to get over here is from directly from the Palo Alto partner lab sites, and over there you practice everything on the VM series of the firewall. Then these things are related to the features, that what is app ID, what is content ID, what is user ID, what is device ID, and Panorama. These are the features inside the firewall. Now app ID is basically what we say, like for example, if I say like there is a traffic in the firewall going on HTTP port 80 and 443. So this can be like any traffic, unless there is a underlying, 1 minute. Okay, so I said that let's say you have a firewall over here, okay, and there is a traffic going on from this user is trying to access some web server over here, right? So the firewall will understand this traffic as someone is trying to access traffic over TCP port 80, 443 or 8080 maybe. Okay, and then it will be considered as HTTP or HTTPS traffic. Okay, so when I say HTTP, How many people, have some familiarity about it? HTTP. Anyone? What is HTTP?
Hypertext Transfer Protocol.
Great.
Without
HTTP.
security profile.
HTTPS. So these are applications or protocols? Normal protocols.
It's a protocol.
These are protocols. The application which is binded with these protocols are basically browsing, right?
Right.
Sorry guys, I think this note feature is not properly working. One. We are discussing, like someone is trying to access, let's say this is a user, this is your web server. This we know as a web server, but firewall is not aware about these things. It can simply see the traffic is hitting on TCP port 80, 443 or 8080. So if this is not a next generation firewall, NGFW, if it is not a next generation firewall, it will simply understand this as a service ports. This is called service ports. Okay. TCP or UDP, it is called transport mechanism, right? When I say TCP and UDP, this is a transport mechanism, works on layer 4. It is a transport layer, right? Everyone is aware about OSI, right? So what I'm talking over here is like these are the transport mechanism, TCP and UDP. And when a port binded with it, when a port binded with it, it is called a service port. That means something binded with a transport mechanism. Let's say TCP. When I say TCP, it is called IP protocol 6. When I say UDP, it is called IP protocol 17, right? Ultimately, on a layer 3, the tagging need to be required, right? So layer 3, the IP protocol identifies for transport mechanism, whether it be TCP or UDP, then it will be tagged with 6 or 17. Once it is decided that traffic which is going through the firewall, it is TCP, then ultimately it requires a service port. In our case, it is 80, 443 or 8080. Once this is identified by the firewall, it will understand that this is a HTTP traffic or HTTPS traffic, right? This is a HTTP or a HTTPS traffic. Now this HTTP and HTTPS traffic, it will be used for browsing, and browsing is called the application. Browsing is your application. Now this browsing, this web browsing has something which which tells firewall that if someone is using on this service port, identifies that HTTP and then tag that traffic as a browsing. So any HTTP traffic can be considered as browsing. Any HTTP traffic, when it is decided that it's a HTTP first. TCP 80. Any TCP 80 can't be a HTTP, right? If I just normally telnet on TCP 80, it can't be HTTP. That means you need to understand that when it is considered as a HTTP. Now our HTTP is having some queries like client to server. If get request, okay, get request or post request or put request, this kind of things will go, then only these methods are falling under CRUD, and then only it will be identified as the requested server will be HTTP or HTTPS. The moment this get request will follow through the firewall, next generation firewall, then a signature will hit over there, and that is called your app ID signature. And then the firewall classifies that particular traffic which is going through the firewall as a web browsing. There is more out of it. There is more out of it. Once the web browsing has been identified, it has more deeper, it has more deeper inspection inside that web browsing traffic. If something like Facebook or let's say Instagram or anything comes inside the signature, it will further classify that traffic, app ID traffic, as a Facebook traffic, and you can specifically block the user by using the Facebook, let's say, website, Facebook chat facility, Facebook gaming. You can further on, because your firewall has a capability to see the different application inside one single traffic and keeps on classifying it for a multiple thread, keeps on classifying it. That means once the traffic been classified as a web browsing, doesn't matter that it has been allowed. Maybe if it further identifies that this web browsing is related to Facebook and Facebook is not allowed in my infrastructure, then it will be blocked there itself. This is called your app ID identification. Post app ID identification, you can take any kind of action. You can take any kind of action. Similarly, like similarly, like we have content ID. Now content ID is basically used for, to check the content inside the, traffic. Like once you identify the content, now content is basically for threat prevention. If you won't be able to see the content inside the particular, traffic, you won't be able to block it or allow it or whatsoever. So content ID basically required to identify the threat or the malicious traffic, and accordingly you will take the action. User ID. User ID is basically needed. User ID is basically needed to provide the particular user group. Now you have multiple users. Okay. Is it very fast, guys?
No issue.
No. Yes, sir.
No. Okay. Thank you. So let's say you have again firewall and there are multiple user machines over here. They are falling under HR group. Inside over here we have a core switch. Okay. They are under HR group and they have some kind of special server sitting on the internet. Apart from that, we don't want that HR have access to any kind of other service. So over here, if we open on a base of the network, so there are two ways. Either we divide on the switch a specific VLAN and assign a specific subnet to this HR group and allow on the base of the subnet. That is a normal method. We all know about it. Because we know that this subnet belongs to HR group, we can only allow this subnet to access this web service over the internet and it's all done, right? But let's say I don't want it because this entire subnet is allocated to the internal user, this entire subnet. Now, how can I do that? If I allow everything, then every user except HR, admin or sales, anyone can have now access to that server. I don't want it. So in that scenario, this firewall has a facility that it has a LDAP integration, lightweight directory authentication protocol by Microsoft. Okay, we can integrate our LDAP server over here and further on it will identify all the user, it will pull all the user group inside the firewall. You can create the policy on the base of user ID as well. You can create the firewall policy over here that this user ID group, either this group or this user ID have access to this server. So the policy will only hit in the case if the user matches, otherwise it will not hit. And that's how user ID comes into picture. Similarly, it will goes with the device ID as well on the base of, like once you have the agent installed in it, Once you have the agent installed on this systems, you can identify the device ID as well with the help of Global Protect agents. It will understand the device ID portfolio, and accordingly you can allow the traffic. Then it comes on Panorama. Then it comes on Panorama. Now Panorama is used for management. Panorama is used for management. So we have Panorama, comes into picture when you have multiple firewalls. Like if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, multiple firewalls divided into three data centers. Let's say you have DC1, DC2, and DC3. Okay, you have multiple firewall architecture divided into three data centers. In this scenario, a firewall administrator will be overburdened of managing these firewalls, because in a daily operation, what are the things you need to perform on the firewall? Like upgrade activities, right? Troubleshooting on the firewall, policy creation, right? If you go ahead on each firewall and creating policy or upgrading each firewall, it will be quite hectic. So Palo Alto comes up with a unique solution which is called, Panorama. Now Panorama, once this firewall will be registered with this Panorama, you can manage all your firewall, all your policies, all your routing, all your network, everything from this Panorama. Everything from this Panorama. And here it comes on EDU 220. So this PA series firewall discussion will go on, VM series will go on, app ID, content ID, user ID, device identification, DNS proxy, DLP, these all things we are going to cover on. Wildfire, threat prevention.
Praveen, quick question. Is this VM series for the cloud only and comparable to PA series, which is for like a data center?
Yes, you are right. So VM series is basically only for cloud. But over here in the lab environment, Palo Alto has some academy partners. I'll show you. So let's say,
Will you be covering the VM series for cloud?
that is, who is asking basically? Parminder.
Parminder.
Yeah. So Parminder, that is covered in Network Kings, but it will be in the cloud class. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gaurav. Gaurav, you there? Okay. Gaurav is not here. So basically we are covering it in the network, but that is like, I can tell you that how it been deployed, but if you don't have cloud knowledge, like how to deploy the VPCs over there, how to create the zones, then you will not be able to understand the placement of the firewall. So
Yeah.
in cloud, there is no inbuilt, yeah.
I
So-
work in AWS. I work in a company. We use AWS, and we are looking for implementing VM series firewall. So that's the reason I asked.
No, that will not be the part of this particular training.
Thank you.
The deployment would not be the part of this particular training, because maybe you are aware about this cloud section, but we don't have, because we come up with a clear prerequisite. In this prerequisite, I didn't mention that you should know cloud, right? I just clearly mentioned that you should only know this network. That's it. So
Yeah, so guys, one thing I just want to clarify, the migration on the cloud, we have another course which is a cloud security. And in this, we are covering that how to migrate a firewall from in-premises to the cloud, either on cloud, AWS or Azure. So I'll share that particular details separately, guys.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Yep.
So that would be, we are covering that, Parminder, but not in this particular training, in some separate training.
This
related
particular batch is dedicated only for the Palo Alto official trainings. And again, I'm repeating, this is not a normal batch basically. This is the official training for the Palo Alto where we are taking a license, and that we'll discuss end of the session. Yeah, sir, you can continue right now.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So these things are going to be covered over there. Where we are just discuss about the portfolio and the architecture. Post that discussion, what we are going to do, that we spin up a firewall and see that once your firewall come up out of the box, how you initialize it, what are the commands you need to run in the initial go. Let's say a firewall is delivered at your premise, what things need to be taken care, and after rack and stack, how you make it up and bring it over the network. Once it is reachable of the network, you are started doing the management configuration. For example, the basic management configuration related to DNS configuration, NTP configuration. If you have any kind of central server located, for example, if you have AAA server, TACAC server, ADS server. I'll talk about more about these. Don't worry about the terminologies where it is needed. But those things you need to cover in your management configuration. Post management configuration, we are going to create the administrator accounts. Like I said, the firewall. So the firewall has administrators. Not everyone is allowed to access your firewall, because firewall is a boundary to your enterprise network from the outside world, right? So it gives you kind of authority. It gives you kind of authority that what you are allowing someone to access to outside and from outside to inside the hosted application in your enterprise. So it is kind of like boundary. So not everyone in your network is allowed to access it. Only those people who have better understanding of the firewall, who knows that what will be the impact of the configuration, what we are going to perform on the firewall, only those people are allowed to access the firewall, and that is too with the permissions. Now, when we say about permission, so how many kind of administrator account we have in the firewall? One is sorry. So one is read write, one is read only, and one is super user. Super user. So these are the default users. These are the default users. We just need the user to add into. These are the default user permissions already available in the firewall. We just need users to be the part of this user group. Okay, this permission group. Moreover, if you want to have a custom permission, now what we are going to discuss over here, like custom permission related to administrator, that you can create, like in the firewall, it's a GUI based firewall. So over in the GUI based firewall, let's say this is a firewall, this is your admin page, this is your policy page, something like that. So let's say I create a custom permission rule where I mention that policy permission. Okay, policy permission. So I can, I can create a separate permission rule where I mention that the user who is a part of policy permission only can see this policy tab. Other tabs is grayed out for that user or not at all visible. So that kind of granular
Sorry to
level of
interrupt.
what?
Sorry to interrupt. Whether this will include the high availability as well as the CLI and the packet uh, trace troubleshooting level.
Yeah. We are going to cover high availability. We are going to cover troubleshooting. Troubleshooting comes under, so module by module I am discussing right now. I'm discussing module 210, EDU 210 according to Palo Alto. Then troubleshooting and all, it comes under EDU 330. Okay.
So this course includes that as well, this training, or it is
Yes. So module by
okay.
module, we are going to perform this. First, we are going to cover the firewall essentials. Once those things will be understand, then you'll go to troubleshoot. Okay.
Okay.
So yes,
Okay.
that will cover. That will be in your supplemental materials. That is not in the. I'll go by one. After that, if you have any queries, just you can pop up with your question. Okay.
It means two batches will be covered. 2 to 0 for initial stage,
So
and after
so
that,
in a official, yeah, Parminder, in a official training, we have EDU 210, which is firewall essentials. Okay. Then if we have EDU 220, where we are going to see in
so
respect
how
of
much
Panorama
duration?
only.
Time
Panorama.
duration. Time
And
duration
then we
for.
have EDU 330, and that is related to troubleshooting. Okay. That will cover your entire PCNSE certification part.
Praveen, can I ask you something? 2 to 0 duration. I want to know the duration of EDU 210 or 2 to 0 230. Right.
See, officially, like these trainings, Palo Alto deliver in 5 days, But for that,
Uh,
the 5 days is 8 hours class in a single day. Okay. This is official. I'll show you that once we register for it, it will show the duration and the time. Okay. So that means 5 into 8, 40 hours. So
Total
if we go
three
for,
modules.
yeah,
will be
yeah,
covered
if we
in
go
40 hours.
for, yeah, if we go for 2 hours, then this course will be of, you can decide, right?
Okay. Thank you.
I think it's not 6. Okay, 8 hours with 1 hour break is there. So productive hours of this, 5 days is 6 only. So 30 hours you can say. So 15 days. And if we cover more like supplemental part over here, what they are doing actually after this, these are basic. After this, they says that someone asked about high availability, right? Someone asked about high availability. So they are giving it as a supplemental material. One who cover this thing in the given timeline, those unlock these kind of uh, because once you understand that how firewall works, then after that you just need the configurational portion for configuring your endpoint global protect. You can configure your HA part, you can configure your site-to-site VPN, and how you are going to block attacks with the zone protection. So these are small configurational stuff. Okay, out of it, these two I can say it's quite big, but I will cover the supplemental material as well. And this is I'm not saying this thing. This is Palo Alto Network. See, this is official from Palo Alto Network. This is not course been made by Networking or me. This is we are discussing over here as a Palo Alto Network Education Services we are, and this is a part of your EDU 210. Okay. So in this, like after that, once we have the administrator account, everything is ready. That means
Hi,
the
Praveen. I
administrator.
have a query.
Yes, Mukul.
Yeah, actually, as you said that we have basically 3 admin accounts which we can create, right? In which we are giving
Yeah,
the
that is
rule.
a default permission already available in the firewall. You can create your granular level permission as well. Yes.
Okay. But as you have mentioned that at the administrator account, we can create, who can read and write the policies and all the configurations, right? And
Yeah.
there is a super account as well, which will be
There's a
having
super user
a
account as well. Yes.
yes, who will be having a full access, right?
Yeah,
And
full
you
access.
have
That means they can delete everything. They can rebuild the firewall in a single click. Yes.
right, and you have mentioned the third one is a read only. So the last one which you have mentioned in the custom permission account, right?
Yeah.
So like suppose if a company in a IT admin have an account of to not to access, only to see the all the configurations, like the read only permission he is having, right? So
Yes.
like what is the difference of, so what is why we are making a custom permission account here?
So custom permission is required. Like let's say the company is little bit reluctant between their hierarchical management. Let's say I have some kind of L1 engineers and some kind of L2 engineers and some kind of L3 engineers. L3 engineers are the one who are basically having rights of policy creation, configuration and everything. And there are some engineers on the top of L3 also, okay, who are having the kind of super user access. So in the L1 engineers, are basically for monitoring only. They are not supposed to do any changes. It is just, I was saying it is dependent on organization to organization work policy. But normally an L1 engineers are used to monitor the stuff. So they don't need to have access to the policy, right? They don't even need to see the configuration. Got it?
Right.
Mukul?
Right.
So I just provide them the tab where only the traffic monitor will be only seen, and create that kind of granular level of permission. That is not by default available as a as a configuration in the Palo Alto. You need to create your dynamic permissions, and you can add it, the users. So that is the reason it is required, that if you not at all want to someone to see this tab also, if someone can see the tab, they can click and see the configuration. It doesn't matter they are able to change or not, they can at least see the configuration, right?
Right.
So those person might leak out the information that in our environment this kind of configuration is done, right? So these are the firewall is having a standard portfolio of the access policy to the boundary of the firewall, right? And accordingly, if someone knows about this information, they can plan their attack, right? They can plan their attack because it is running. Palo Alto is a decorated next generation firewall product. Mostly it is running on the edge of the network. Okay. So someone having, the knowledge of how you have segregated your policy, they can plan their attack. So the financial organization, the hospitality organizations where the reputation is at on the stake, right? A dollar, a dollar rupees of hack from a bank might lower their shares in the market, right? Because these companies are running on reputation. So those people are quite reluctant, to provide this kind of permission. So they they are going for granular level approach for creating permissions. So it depends organization to organization. Not all organizations is going for that part. Those who wants, Palo Alto has given that kind of feature as well.
Thank you.
Hope I'm able to answer your question, Mukul.
Yes. Yes, I'm clear. Thank you.
Okay. So then post creation of this administrator account, now we are going for the network portion. Now we are going to bring up our firewall into the middle of the network, where we can create multiple security zones and divide our network. So security zones, let's talk about a little bit about the security zones. So normally the firewall which is available in the market, those are not zone aware firewall, those are interface based firewall. Zones are there, but it's just for the namesake, but Palo Alto is also working on the zones. What do you mean by zones? Like, for example, we have a firewall over here. Okay, so Ethernet 1/1, Ethernet 1/2, two interfaces I have taken. Two interfaces over here, Ethernet 0/0, Ethernet 0/1. Over here, I have taken Ethernet 2/1, Ethernet 2/2, and bundle them. That means if I create one interface and make it a part of internal interface, internal zone, I can take another interface and make it the part of same zone. That means the users who are behind Ethernet 1/1 and behind Ethernet 1/2, they will keep on going from the firewall, but this is called your intrazone traffic, like within the same zone. Intrazone is within the same zone, and they are by default from Palo Alto, it is allowed. By default allowed, that means if you want, you can block it. Okay, but by default from Palo Alto, it is allowed. Now, the traffic which is going from internal zone to let's say untrust zone. Now, in the untrust zone, I can have as many interfaces as I want, but I have taken two interfaces out of it. And the communication needed a security policy because interzone traffic is blocked. Interzone traffic is blocked, and we need to manually allow it. Now, when we allow the policy allow is having some kind of, you know, information needed, like source, destination, source zone, destination zone, then protocol, app ID, content ID. If you have, you can allow it, and you can create. So these all comes under your security profile. These are called security profiles. Accordingly, you will allow it. You have another information in the same policy is your user ID. Okay, so if you are not allowing the traffic on the base of user ID, let's say I have an IP address 10.1.22.22 assigned to a user Robbie, So this user comes tomorrow. Okay, this user comes tomorrow, change its IP address manually to 10.1.22.23. Okay, will it be allowed? No, because the policy which I have created, I mapped user and user ID, user IP and user ID both. So if Robbie changed the IP address to 23, this policy will not hit and it will not be able to access, no matter firewall identify that Robbie is coming. So this kind of security you can achieve with the help of these informations inside the policy. So we'll bring up the firewall inside the network and create network zones. Once the network zone created, you can create your policy. I have just discussed about the policy. NATing. NATing also required essential portion. Why NATing we are going to discuss over here? Because I simply say that this firewall is a part of your, is mostly deployed in your edge, mostly deployed in your perimeter. That means it is a boundary. It is a boundary between your untrust network and the trust network. You have DMZ environment also. Why DMZ environment used, guys? Anyone have any idea about it? Otherwise, I'm going to discuss it quickly. DMZ environment. Anyone worked over here on the firewall?
It's between organization and private network, like DMZ zone, like dark side for the organization.
Inside to us. This I understood, but the application, why we are using it on the first part? It's just a name. It's just a name, but we commonly use it. Why we use it?
No.
Okay. Anyone is giving answer or I'm going to discuss? Tell me, Rohit.
Private IP should not be
servers and
shared with
devices.
untrusted network.
One by guys, one by one.
It is used to hide the critical devices from outside network and attacks.
Good. Yes. Thank you, Sachin. So, so DMZ environment is basically used for hosting your application. Hosting. If you have like, so trust is basically only for outbound traffic. When we say outbound, that means the traffic which is leaving our firewall or which is leaving our domain and going over the bad world of internet outbound traffic. Now DMZ environment is created inside our firewall is for hosting the services. We have created a separate zone inside the firewall. DMZ, the reason is clear and clear and crisp, that we have some web services which we want to have someone sitting over the internet to access and work. Let's say in the DMZ environment we have some SharePoint or we have some share folder or kind of like Salesforce web app we have, where we have some plugins. My employees sitting over the internet can access directly, no need to dial VPN because it's a hosted service. But on the same internet, some attacker also sitting. If they want to access over it, they can also access from the same, right? They can also access, right? But there they need to provide few things like some credentials, right? And also after credentials, let's say my credential is compromised, I can go for two-factor authentication like OTPs and all. Multi-factor authentication I can go because these servers. But the reason for creating a separate zone, then someone asks, let's say Sachin will ask Praveen, why DMZ? I can create in the trust also, right? The same thing I can do. Yes, you can do it. But then the risk will be more. How? Because if your hosted services is compromised, let's say, understand a situation over here. If your hosted services is compromised by the attacker have the access. What he will do, the attacker need to go for further more penetration inside the trust because your core network is running behind here and you have segregated only your hosted service. So over here mostly in the in an application we have three tier. Guys, try to understand this thing. We have a front end, right? We have a front end, we have a back end, and we have a DB, right? We have a DB. So most of the code and the information is inside backend and DB. Front end is just give the user interface, right? So if attacker reach out, he will be reached out only till the front end. He will not be able to access these. And he ended up having nothing. He ended up having nothing, right? Because those things are running inside my core network. Those things running inside my core network. And if that's something required to access inside my core, that need to be manually allowed from DMZ to trust. And that is the reason we are creating a isolated network in our firewall to host the service, because those are facing the bad world of the internet. They might compromise. We are taking the chance they might compromise irrespective of the fact that I'm having Palo Alto, the renowned firewall, having those kind of security, everything. But if you are facing over the internet, there will always be a chance of compromise. So, taking that thing into account, you created a isolated environment which is called demilitarized zone. That means this environment is not having direct access to trust, and neither the trust environment is not having the direct access of DMZ. Same goes with untrust. So that is the reason we are creating DMZ zone in the firewall. Okay, guys?
So, Praveen, I have a question. Like as you have mentioned in the next generation firewall, this DMZ, that is basically a server, right? So it is configured inside the next generation firewall, or like it is
It is just a
configured.
name, Mukul. It is just a name. Try to
Okay.
understand. It's not related to next generation firewall. I can create on the router also. I was just saying that if you create an isolated network in your firewall, there is a particular reason behind it, and this is mostly related to the firewall. If someone is working on the firewall in the past, they have heard this word for the very first time, DMZ, as a security design, not as a security firewall. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. You have heard this word for the very first time in your organization as a part of the firewall, as a part of the network or the design, security design. I hope it will be related to the security design. Like you have designed your network in such a way that you are going for, going for minimal risk. If you're hosting some kind of services outside, if that service is getting compromised due to any reason, you will always have a micro segmentation level of risk minimization, right? You can go for a isolated network. Like if someone compromised also, they ended up having nothing. They just compromised that particular server and will not be able to maneuver inside my network after that, right? This is what going to happen. If someone is getting access to the DMZ, and if I don't have any direct access inside my core network, what will happen? That particular user ended up having this server only. That's it. Mostly he can encrypt this server. It's fine. It's a front-end server. It's just a user enterprise. I just scrap the server, I reset everything and create it once again. But let's say everything is running inside the server only, front end, back end, DP. What will happen? what will happen? Your entire application will be compromised. You are gone, finished. You give all the critical information to the hacker, and you are ready to pay the ransom also against the ransomware encryption. So that's the reason you have DMZ environment in your firewall. And that is the reason you are creating the netting policy. So netting policy is basically not to hide. Netting policy has, created on the router and the switches also to IP preservation. But in the firewall, it is also a security protocol that you have a private segment running inside your enterprise, and then you need to go to public. You need to have netting policy created. There are multiple netting policy, like you have destination NAT, you have static NAT, you have bidirectional NAT, you have U-turning of the NAT. Those things we are going to discuss while discussing this netting policy. Then we go for application usage with app ID. I have already discussed that part, that how you can use your application, what is the application dependency. Like for example, if someone trying to access the Facebook, and if you only allow Facebook, he will not be able to access Facebook. The reason, because Facebook is dependent on Facebook, I have just discussed this part. Facebook is dependent on an application named as web browsing, right? If I block web browsing and allow only Facebook, will the user be able to access Facebook? If I block web browsing and allow Facebook in my firewall, will the user be able to access the Facebook? No, right? Because Facebook has dependency on web browsing. Initial transaction will happen on your TCP 443 and 80, and then only other signatures will hit and identify the traffic as Facebook. So you need to allow the initial transaction, which will be termed as web browsing. During our course of training, we'll understand more about the dependent application, how can create our own custom application. Those things we are going to see over there.
But with web browsing, we need to allow SSL also, right?
SSL.
Yeah.
Yes, TCP 44380, whatever. Like the moment you add Facebook in the application, it will show all the dependent application you need to allow before that. It will tell you that as an administration, what you are going to create the policy, it will only work when you allow this dependent application. It will tell you.
Okay.
Yes, you are right. You need to allow HTTPS traffic, not necessarily SSL. Rohit,
Okay.
right? Rohit asked this
Yeah,
question.
Rohit. Yeah.
SSL and TLS and HTTPS, these are very, very minor, slight line between them. We are going to discuss more about it during our course of training.
Okay.
Then inappropriate web traffic and URL filtering, again, like any kind of signature related to already available in our firewall. So firewall is having a data lake. Firewall is having a data lake named unit 32. They called it as unit 32. Okay, this data lake is having 12 years of log retention inside the Palo Alto cloud, and this 12 year of log they have achieved through various customers, and they keep on working of creating those signatures, whether it be application understanding, whether it be malicious traffic, those things are already available. And if you have a licensed firewall in your environment, they keep on pushing the new signatures of app ID, the new signatures of content ID, the new signature of URL filtering. Those things will be keep on pushing. You just need to have proper license inside it. So what are the license over there? I'm going to just log in quickly our firewall, and we'll see that what are the license we have. So So this lab, what I'm going to access, this is just for demonstration. The lab what you guys has been provided with, with is the official lab from Palo Alto, where you are going to get a proper, lab documents, lab workbook, step-by-step task, everything will be provided. You can log in and just immediately started working on it. It will be a ready lab. So let it started. Okay, so by the time it is started, let's no, not this. By the time it will start, let's go to our content again. Okay. So I was discussing about unit 32, which is the data lake from various customer. Palo Alto has taken that, their policy logs and all kind of threat and attack. Accordingly, they will create their own database and keep on working on it to create proper application ID signatures. So these has, these has incremental updates. Okay. So any new app ID will be identified. They will update it weekly, daily, and monthly. You can also schedule your update as per your need, because today the app which is being identified as Facebook may be changed as a name Facebook base. Okay, so they go for on a granular approach, and that might impact. But the good part about Palo Alto is the app base ID. They are going to, before installing in your environment, they will say exactly that these are the policy you are using this application, particular application, and the new update might impact this kind of policy. So before applying it, you need to tweak your policy and then you can go for it. So every time when you are going to update the new app ID, it is suggested that do out of your business hours if it is the impact is higher. Like if it is a normal app ID, normal minor 1 or 2 application changes, and it has no impact in your organization, you can immediately install and update it. But it is suggested that if the impact is larger, like if the entire app ID version is changed, so take a downtime and then do it out of your, take a maintenance window and then do it. So I think our firewall started. So we have a VM license over here of VM50. This is a PA VM series model, and then it will also show the version. So currently it is not updated. So wildfire version, app ID version, device ID version, device dictionary version, this all been seen over here. In order to retrieve the license, we request license fetch. So it will go directly to Palo Alto and bring up all the licenses. So what are the licenses available over here? The license which is available, like Palo Alto network URL filtering license we have. We have a global protect portal license we have. We have license related to, support 24/7 phone support we have, and it will be expire by April 1, 2023. It is an evaluation license for demonstration purpose. We have procured it. We have advanced threat prevention license. We have DNS license, DNS security license. We have SD-WAN license. Everything is over here. So we have complete license for demonstration purpose for a minimum time of period. We have available over here. Now, how we are going to access it? So in order to access, so Mukul, see, we have multiple tabs over here, and we can create permission on the base of each tab. But on the base of, device, over here we have admin roles. Defined admin roles will be only, in the administrator. If we go, we have by default super user. If I just click on it, and it is a default user available, so it won't allow me to change. But over here you see there is a dynamic and there is a role based. So dynamic only super user read only, device administrator read only. We have these user group only default permission. But if we go for role base, we have an option. We can create a custom, admin role profile. When you click over here, you see these are the tabs on the web UI. You can see it's all green. See, whatever you uncheck, if I click over here, it will be disabled. So whatever group I'm going to admin role profile I'm going to create and map the user to that admin role profile, those users are not going to have access to the policy. This is what I discussed while creating the administrator account. Okay. Now I think when you are seeing it as a configuration, it makes sense to you guys. So this is on web UI. Similarly, you are going to, so how many type of accesses you have on the firewall via web UI, via XML API. Now if you go towards automation of the firewall or your infrastructure, you heard these things quite a lot today, right? That automation is coming on. It might, take up the job of many administrators, so we should know how automation work. But before that, every product is having their API calls, because every product is working on some particular APIs, and this is XML API based authentication. You also can create as a web role. Command line, that means on the console. So on the console you'll see you ended up having this, default. You don't have permission to create any kind of granular approach. For example, super user. super user reader, device admin reader. This much only you can permission on the command line you can provide. And again, REST API. REST API, again, it's an object-based query. Like if you have, anyone heard about Postman? Anyone heard about Postman? It's a tool. It's a Google developed tool. Basically, Postman is used to run different, different API calls for REST. Now, REST is representational state transfer. It is used to make an API call. So you can make it with the help of a language like Python, JavaScript. You can make with the help of that also. If not, then you can use directly a tool. I would better prefer a tool, because I'm not a developer. I'm not going to, writing a full-blown REST API calling and somewhere. I'm going to use the library, right? These tools are using basically the libraries of Python or JavaScript maybe. So REST API based, like with the help of the REST API, what are the things you are going to configure if I uncheck it? And if you're using some Postman tool, you are not going to create any kind of objects. You're not going able to create any kind of object because I have created such role over here. So this is, this is related to your administrator account access. I was just logging on the firewall to show you the licenses, that what are the licenses and how you can retrieve it. If I click inside the device, I'll go to license. These are the licenses available, and you have seen on the CLI as well, right? So these are licensed product over the support portal. So this firewall is basically registered over the support portal, and due to that, it can bring up some dynamic updates. Now I have discussed that it has data lake unit 32. Accordingly, it will create some, some updates for related to application ID, related to application and threats. This is antivirus signatures. These are application and threats. This is global protect. Global protect is basically a SSL VPN on the firewall. This is for data file. Global protect for device ID dictionary. We have wildfire. Wildfire is a sandbox solution. Wildfire is basically a sandbox solution. I'll discuss more on it during the course of training. Let me just cover up few more part. If some time permit, I'll discuss about the sandbox. So these are the licenses. These are the dynamic updates available. Accordingly, you can create your URL filtering. So in order to create, the policies, you need to create objects. So first, you need to bring up the firewall inside your network. For the network, you need to create your, interfaces. The interfaces been mapped with multiple zones. See, I have created zones: DMZ, trust, untrust, VPN zone. And then I have to create policies over here. So I have created some policies. I have created some user account based policies as well. I have allowed policies related to, see, Facebook, and I have dropped it. I have created security profile. So security profile basically, so these things I have discussed, right? That you need to, tell the destination zone, source zone, address, or if you're not creating policy on the base of the address, you can create your user group, and then you go for, any kind of device ID you have. That if you have some kind of filter, you can go for device ID, then you can go for application need to be allowed. Then over here I'm using application default. That means whatever application I'm using, it will by default allow that application related service port. Service port is anyways required. Right? So if you check application default in the service group, that means you are allowing TCP port 80 and 443 by default, because you are saying that whatever application required, allow it, application default. And then I have taken a action drop. I can take a action allow as well. And then at the end, I called security profile. Why at the end security profile? I'll tell you. I'll tell you the reason why we are calling security profile at the end of the policy after these kind of check. So someone asks that, Praveen, you have already taken action drop or allow. Then what is the point of having this security profile over here? I have taken the action. These things are checked. I have taken the action. What is the point of having security profile? Right? Makes sense. Guys? Genuine question, right? I have allowed, and then I have taken a security profile, wildfire analysis. What is the point of having security profile at the end if I have already allowed it? So for that, you need to understand what is security profile. So let's go to object. Let's go to object. and we have security profiles over here. In security profile, we have antivirus, anti-spyware, vulnerability protection, URL filtering, file blocking, wildfire analysis, data filtering, DOS protection, mobile network protection, SCTP protection. These things are the part of your security profile. You can group them together and create your security profile group, and you can call it inside your policy. Now let's go one by one. Antivirus. So a question to Mukul, right? Or maybe anyone. You can take anyone this question I'm asking. So I'm accessing some site, okay? I'm accessing some site and trying to download a freeware file, a freeware application, right? We have a habit of downloading freeware applications, right? We don't want to pay. And it is downloaded, or we reach to the site. Once it is downloaded, is it happening with you guys that when you click on it, it is not opening? It happens with you guys? It is successfully downloaded, but it is not installing or opening. Is it happening with you guys or not?
Yes, yes.
It's happened. So, but it is downloaded. It is in your system. Why it is not opening? Because your endpoint system is also having some firewall, and that is called endpoint protection firewall, right? Defender. In Windows, we have Defender, default firewall. It won't allow you to install, because once you install, then after that only it will understand this is malicious. Before, no, right? It allows you to download. After downloaded, it opens the file and understand this is having some malicious thing. If the user install, his system might compromise, so it won't allow you to, right, install it. That means, try to understand what I'm trying to implicate over here. So in the policy, it is actually allowed, right? It allows you to download first, and then it will apply the security profile to understand to inspect the file, and then provide you the vulnerability protection, not before that. That means the action need to be taken first, and after that it will protect. So it will come at the end. If you take an action drop over here, your security profile is not at all checked. That means on these parameters like source, destinations, application, you have decided already that I don't want to allow. For example, I have taken on the Facebook that drop. Is it security profile going to work? No. And I can evidence this. Let me open this firewall policy. Let's go to action. If I take an action, drop is something else. If I take action, deny, see what will happen. It won't allow me. Let me create a new policy. See, when I take it will not be seen like this. While creating the application, it will be seen. Anyways, it will not be seen over here. So if you take action, if you take action drop or deny, your security profile won't work. In order to work your content and security profile, first the action need to be allowed. After that, only inspection will happen. Otherwise, the inspection will not happen at all.
So, sir, if the profile is to be blocked for the malicious content, will it allow to download the file, or it will not allow to download?
Yeah. So as per your if I have taken deny action, this will not be checked. First of all, if I take allow, for example, if I take allow, so as per my organizational AV profile, let's say in the antivirus, I have, I have allowed some kind of file, like someone can download DLL files, someone can download exe file type, those things. If I allow those things, for example, in the file blocking, I have blocked exe. So except exe, everything will be downloaded except exe. Exe, those person can't be allowed. So you have taken allow action, then only these things are checked, right? If you've taken deny action, why it is going to check the profile, right? It will only check these parameters: source, destination, application, service, action, deny. Not going over here. So it will only
No,
work.
I'm asking about the antivirus profile. If I select antivirus profile, let's suppose AV profile, it is selected. Remaining all are not any. I have not used any of the profile
It
like
will work.
URL
It will
filtering.
work only for antivirus, not for other things. No
So
need
it
to
will
create
allow
device.
that. Let's see that our any virus is there in the file, and will that file will be allowed to download through our firewall, or it will be blocked while that
No, in the
action is allowed.
antivirus profile, if you have created proper profile, and as per your antivirus signature, if doesn't matches, it will be allowed. If your antivirus signature is updated inside your Palo Alto, it will not be allowed.
But even the action is allowed even then.
Even the action is allowed. No. So the thing is, action is allowed in order to access the URL, in order to access the content. The moment you click, the moment it will click, because what's your name?
It's Anuj.
Anuj. So the moment
Yeah.
you'll click a link, what will happen? It will go to the destination, right? So destination is allowed.
Okay.
After that, you download the file. You click on the download. What will happen? The data transit will happen via your firewall, right? Once the file reach to the firewall, then only firewall understand that this file is having some
Signature
malicious
is
thing. Yeah, signature will
signature is
hit.
matching, and I have to
Before
block
that,
it.
how it
Okay.
will understand? So if you deny itself, it will not at all allow you to click also.
Cool. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Right?
Thank you,
So
sir.
this is basically, profile setting is basically related to your content protection. Content. What is the content inside the traffic? Okay, so let's go to your, again, we are discussing about the course.
So, Praveen, as you mentioned in the action part, right? As you
Yes.
mentioned in the profiling that as the guy have asked you that if the antivirus is there, as in the action part, it's yes, you said that if you will deny, so there is no point to make a profile, right? So in the
If you
action part,
deny, no, you can create a profile, but anyway, it is not going to take any impact because you
yeah.
already denied the traffic. Yeah.
Right. But as you have mentioned in that action part, right, where you have mentioned that in the profile section that only that these things will be allowed or not, right? Suppose in the action I have denied it, right? And I have denied on the basis of only on the basis of the antivirus, right? Now from the outside, from the untrust zone, if I'm getting something on the firewall,
I got your question, Mukul. I got your question. Let me just explain it again, and if you have still doubt left, let me know. Okay. So I got your question that if you are Praveen, if you are already allowed, how the file, how it will block the file or the malicious content if you already allowed it, right?
right?
That's your
Right.
question.
Yes.
So let me go to this default signature. I have created organizational antivirus profile also. So let me click over here. This profile I have called inside it. So you see, we have action against the signature, reset. See?
Right.
So if the signature matches this FTP protocol, so it will reset. In this profile, it will reset. So signature itself is having its own action inside the packet, inside the content.
So you are
Drop.
saying that
HTTP drop. So even if it is the traffic is allowed over there, after that, when it checks the content of the packet and it finds some kind of behavior, like someone is trying to having FTP access, HTTP or HTTP2, something like that, it will reset on the base of the signature. So this is a signature action.
okay, I
Okay.
got your point.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's allowed, but then what happened? Antivirus kicks in. Now antivirus says that this is a freeware file, because how it says antivirus, because it is a part of the signature, and this signature is created by Palo Alto Cloud itself, and it is keep on updating in the dynamic updates, right over here, and it is installed in my system. 4.2.6.4.4.777 version of antivirus has been already installed in my system. Inside that there are release note. You can click on it and see that what are the things available. For that you need to have internet access. I don't know why it is not opening. Anyways, so release note you can see. Okay. Let me see. of them are opening, maybe something else. So in the release note, it's been mentioned that what are the things updated inside this antivirus, okay? And once the signature matches, once the signature hits, then only it will take the action against the signature, against the content, right? Content, it will not be able to inspect if the traffic didn't transit through the firewall, right? If the file not at all coming to the firewall, how it is going to inspect it, right? It will not. So you need to allow it normally. For example, you have allowed your internet traffic, right? In your organization, the users can enjoy internet, Google, download the files. But the moment they download any kind of freeware file, they can go to the freeware site. Let's say the most common freeware site is SourceForge, right? SourceForge.net. Even we are downloading some files from there. You go over there, it is opening also. You click on the file downloaded in your system, but it is not opening because for the very 327 KB, initial 327 KB only it will understand this has some malicious thing. It will corrupt the file there itself. It will partially download and rest of the things is not at all download. That is the reason you are not able to install the file in your or install the application in your system. So once it is transit, that time the signatures of the content will kicks in and it will reset the connection that time or whatever action available in the signature action. So you can take action against the signature on your own if you understand the signature, or you can rely on Palo Alto for that. Palo Alto push the signatures alongside with action also. So all known malicious applications has been, on the base of the signature, it has been identified and the action also been taken, appropriate action also been taken in the signature itself. So Palo Alto take care of that. You don't need to worry about it. But yes, you do need to understand these flows so that if your legit traffic also started been blocking, so you need to tweak it. You need to go inside signature. You need to, go inside, like for example, we need to go to monitor. We'll see the logs. These are the logs, right? And we need to see DNS based web browsing, these kind of application. So these are the traffic logs and threat logs. If we go to threat, these are the threat related logs. Someone is going to, web browsing and they are dropped against icar file. So I have, taken the training on it, and there is a test site named icar from where you can, download some kind of virus files and it will block it, right? So it is blocking under type of virus. If we click on it, it will give us more detail that against which signature ID. So severity is medium, and this is falling under computer and internet info. That's why it has been dropped. So application which is used web browsing, it falling under the category computer and internet info. Severity is medium, and against the medium severity, we are taking the action drop on the signature. We are not taking this signature action. Palo Alto itself is taking it. Okay. So these are the things we are going to cover inside the firewall. After that, let me go to course content more. After so these all been, so in order to understand the decryption, in order to understand this kind of, traffic, you need to decrypt the traffic as well. Otherwise your firewall will not understand, because most of the traffic in these days over the internet, even the malicious side, are now SSL based, right? Because certificate are kind of like easily available in the free version also. Someone knows, maybe Let's Encrypt is a site where you can, buy free certificate SSL certificate. You can register your own dynamic website on Let's Encrypt give you 90 days of free certificate SSL. So certificate also these days are not going to be, legitimacy. It will not show your legitimacy. So quite a the internet becoming quite bad these days. So you need to be too much, vigilant while having your, report and all those things. Even for your own personal use, you need to be quite vigilant. Don't go to the payment site immediately. Check some, some things, the legitimacy of the site, or go for, virus vault over there, paste the URL. Try to understand this website has created when. Like if it is immediately like 2 or 3 days before created, might be some fishy thing. So those things you need to check. Be vigilant, be safe. And this is meant to be your cyber security. This is meant to be cyber security. Any engineer, any person can be cyber aware of these days if they do check these things. It just need to be understanding. We are using phones going here and there. Those things you need to keep on vigilant, because those every step of yours is being monitored. You are being watched. If you talk to someone about some kind of product, the very next day you will be able to see that you are getting some kind of ad related to that. That means you are being listened also over the phone. So see that what kind of permission you have given on your phones. Be vigilant. So this is EDU 210. We'll go to EDU 220. So EDU 220, as per Palo Alto, the duration is 2 days only, because this is related to management. Once the firewall is registered, once the group has been created, that's it. You can push the policy and everything. So quite a less content about it. So again, 2 days, that means 6 hours productive. So we can say like 12 hours of class. So in our scenario, it will be 6 to 7 days maximum, and that's it. So this is your management. Then it will come up with your last part, EDU 330. 1 minute, let me just open. So EDU 330 is basically troubleshooting, and it will be little bit enhanced. Again, 3 days of the class, 18 hours. And this has advanced level. Why it is advanced? Because this particular module considered that you are now well aware about this thing, firewall. You are well aware about the firewall. You understand the flow logic. You understand the different packets. Then only you can understand the packet captures inside it. So we are going to cover the basic troubleshooting tools and resources. What we're going to use: flow logic. Once a packet entered inside the firewall, what will happen to the packet? And at the end, what will happen? We'll see how to take packet captures, and we'll open packet captures in Wireshark and see that what kind of transactions is happening inside the packet and why it has been blocked. We'll see the packet diagnostic log as well. Host inbound traffic we'll see, transit traffic we'll see, system services, certificate management, SSL decryption, user ID, global protect. Global protect again related to SSL VPN, user ID. You guys well aware about. I have already discussed what is user ID, and we'll see in the troubleshooting as well that how the user ID being impacted. Then we'll see support and escalation RMAs. RMAs is your like once the device been down, what need to be done if the hardware related problem, what need to be done, how you can reach out to the support of Palo Alto, and how you can raise the RMA. Before raising the RMA, what are the pre-checks you need to do? You need to take the backup. You need to, keep your certificate keys and everything, because there are some private keys inside the firewall. You need to keep handy with you before giving it to the support, because support might retrieve the private key, and if your private key compromise, we'll understand more about it. It's related to certificate management. If private key compromise, anyone can pose as your server, right? So if I have Rohit Aadhaar card on a digital footprint, I can pose myself as Rohit if someone not able to see my face, right, Rohit? I can pose myself as Rohit if I have his Aadhaar card, PAN card, anything. So these are related to your private information. Keep secure. Same goes with your firewall. In firewall, for certificate decryption and all, you have private key stored inside the firewall only. Okay. We have some HSM module. I discuss a part of it because HSM module is not related to Palo Alto. It's a third party vendor product, but it is integrated with the firewall for the protection of private key. But that is the advanced thing. It is not related. Again, I'll say it is not related to firewall. It is just a private key, secure management of the keys inside the Palo Alto. I will discuss some part of it. So you need to take backup of the private key. Then we'll go for the next step. Next step, that means we are going to discuss that after the completion of the course, what are the next steps you need to take. I mean, you go for certification, how you approach for the certification, is it good for you or not? We are going to discuss about it. So in the prerequisite of this course, it's clearly mentioned the person need to finish the 210 course. 220 is not required, is not the prerequisite of this course. So that means we are going for 210 and we can go for 330, and at the last we are going for 220. 220 is entirely different. It is related to panorama management. It also mentioned that the person should have a network security concept and at least 6 months on the job experience on the Palo Alto network. Don't worry about it. While the course of the training, you get as much experience to understand this troubleshooting. So I hope this demonstration class is informative. If anyone have any question, they can reach out to networking training coordinators. You can reach out to me as well. Gaurav will or the networking training coordinators can share my contact number, my email IDs to you guys. Thank you. If you have any question, you can ask me or we can close the session. For the training, just before leaving for the training, I would say that let's say if I register, for example, let me just register for this class. You schedule. For the labs, I'm saying that how you guys are going to access the labs. I'm going to share the lab guides and all everything with you guys once you are going to register with the course. So let me just access config. Palo Alto training. So we are going to access this lab where we have so you see this is related to your EDU 210 firewall configuration and management. You can download the course content from here and it will lead you to beacon site of Palo Alto. So that means Consignas is registered with Palo Alto. From here we are going to rent the rack for you guys. Once you register, then only the rack will be rented for you. So this will be the topology where the attack and everything, all kind of simulation is directly available. You just log in via web browser and you can jump onto the firewall and start doing your configuration as per the lab guide. We have the lab guide handy available with us. Once you registered, for example, this is the lab guide. Okay. Once you register, this lab guide will be provided to you. And over here, everything, clearly mentioned that you need to run this file, step-by-step process, everything is available. Once you go through each and everything, even some kind of explanation is also available. So once we go through the class one by one, after that you have been given a separate time for your lab hours. You can practice, you can ask question post that, Praveen, we tried to do this lab, we are not able to achieve this because it's mentioned as an output, but I'm not having the desired output. I will troubleshoot the very next day for the first 10 to 15 minutes and then we'll go for the next step of the course. So that will be the strategy from my side to provide you the labs. Step by step, we'll go for module by module. Once the first module will be over, then only we'll go for the second module. So this particular topology will cover your 210 and 330, then we'll go for the Panorama lab. Okay, so anyone having any question, this is a registered official Palo Alto program which has been provided by us. If you go for see, huge. See, 5 days full session, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. How much hours it will be? 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I was right, 8 hours. 8 into 5, 40. Out of this, productive hours will be 2 break sessions in it. So if you go for, officially like complete training from these guys, this will be the price. But
yes, and even hi sir, Parveen sir, Gaurav here from networking. So guys, upfront I'm telling you, this is not a normal batch, and we are going to deliver each and everything through license. Okay, with the official Palo Alto training basically. And upfront, I'm telling you, it's a 40,000 which we are charging in whatever the people is gonna join for this particular batch. However, we have a limit of only 15 people we can entertain in this particular batch, not more than that, or maximum 20. Because if you'll see in the first page, Parveen shows that yes, this is the cost for for the firewall part. Okay, so that means somewhere 250 euro is what I'm paying for the lab for the person. So including training, including a lab access, upfront I'm telling you, it's 40,000 which we are gonna charge for this training. But yes, including notes, everything is provided by this in this batch basically. Correct, Parveen?
yeah. So guys, the point over here, I don't want to, go for this financial thing. It is a responsibility of Gaurav and the team. Why I'm showing this you, just want to make one thing clear over here, that this is, this is a official training, the quality, the everything, what it is going to be delivered. It is almost, it is everything related to Palo Alto officially. And more than that, I would go extra mile. If we cover it on time, then I will, I will provide you extra information related to multi-factor authentication. I will go for duo security and those things. That will be again available, even though it's not the part of the course. I will cover those portions if we cover what's been provided over here. And the price over here is in euros because it is a instructor led classroom program. But we are charging, 40,000. The reason only because we are renting the lab from here for you guys. Because if you go for if you go for a licensed product, then only Palo Alto makes sense. Otherwise, not. Okay, that is the only reason.
Even we
Otherwise,
guys are running a normal batches also where we are providing a lab on our racks, and that is not the licensed one. However, there are a few things that we can cover. Around 70% of content we can deliver on that racks. But if in case somebody is interested to do all the official things only, this is the batch. And for the normal batch, the cost is very normal. Almost I can say half of the cost what I'm committing right now. But yes, for this it's 40,000 and the $500. The people who are joining from outside India, almost the similar cost.
any question, anyone, they can ask now. I'm done with the demonstration. So Gaurav, can we just
Yes.
done with the demonstration or?
Yes. Thanks, Praveen sir. So guys, whatever the doubts that you have, I'm just sharing one WhatsApp number. So you can contact me or my team. They can help you with the timing and all. And it's a 3 days in a week. What we decided, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. IST.
For all the 3 modules, again, I would say it will be a 45-day class in total. And I would again say that this is not going to limited with this. If time permits, if these things are minimally done, I would go for extra mile. This is my, basic nature of training delivery. I would not stick with only these. These will be covered. If you guys showing interest, if you are going with me alongside, I will cover extra mile. I will deliver some part of the automation, that how we can, create policy with the help of, Ansible, or how we can go for, the multi-factor authentication integration with some third-party vendors. We can, together we can go for those configurational things also, discussion also, design security discussion also, we can do that. But it's all depend you guys, that how the things will go, how you guys are showing your interest into it. So thanks for now. Thanks everyone for joining this demonstration. Hope we'll see. I'll see you again in our upcoming batch. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.